point. Why did we get sent to Earth in the first place? What's the Bible say about that? Is it Satan? Am I gonna die? And that's it? And I'll never know I even existed. What the hell happens when you die? Fuck. Just flicked it right, the ash right to the fire. That was awesome. I believe in God. But do I only believe in him because I want to? Or is it because I believe that is the truth? I think the knowledge of your death is really what allows you to overcome fear. Like if we knew we'd live forever, would we ever take any risk? And not risk as in risking your life, but risking what people think of you. Embarrassment. Because imagine everybody lives forever. You would eventually, everyone would know everybody eventually. And they'd know all your past, your history. So no one would ever try anything a little risky. But when you know you're gonna die, maybe that's the push that is required. Because the other thing about not dying means that you could always do it later. But when you know you're going to die, there is no later, except for later in your life, when you're closer to death. So maybe death is just absolutely necessary for anything to happen. If there was no death, would there be any sort of reason for innovation? And of course, without death, there would be no birth, right? Unless the population just grew and grew, and then, well, what do you do then? The planet probably goes extinct. Well, I mean, I guess there's no, I mean, maybe you could die from, like, some things, but not old age. So eventually everyone would go extinct because there'd be so many damn people. Or people would stop having kids. There'd be no new people forever. That sounds pretty boring. But what is there a life? Is eternal life in heaven? Is that life? Or is life something that has to have a death? Where does it exist? When you die, do you remember your earth life if you go to heaven? That'd be cool. But when you're born, what was before birth? I don't remember anything. If I had lives before this that I just don't remember, also, is your memory all that creates you? Are you just a product of what you remember or don't remember? Because what if you did remember all your past lives and then you went into this life and you had all that knowledge? You'd probably live the same way you lived all your other lives. But when you start fresh with no memory, who knows what the hell is going to happen? I had this thought the other day that Earth and humans could have been created as a sort of story generator, right? Because if you put all these humans on the Earth and you just let them go. And there's millions of different lives being lived. How many unique and interesting stories are you going to get? Millions, right? So if it's all about creation, is all creation a story? Are the best art pieces a story? Are the best songs a story? Stories, books are a story. History is a story. Is creation always just a story? Because you have the story of the beginning of time all the way to the end of time. But then you have all these little stories mixed into it of each life, each year in a life, each day in a life. It's all its own story, right? And then all these human lives have the capacity to create more stories, like writers, artists. Even the cigar is a story. You smoke it from the start and it burns till the end when it's dead. I guess life is just like a cigar, right? You're born, you're a full cigar. As soon as you're born, it starts burning and the clock starts ticking. But that's when you're alive. And then you get to the end. Maybe you get snuffed out a little early, thrown away. Maybe you get to go all the way down to the bottom. Either way, it's got to end. But as long as it's burning, it's alive. So maybe life really is just about making it the best story that you can. But the one thing you got to get over if you want to have a good story is fear. Fear is the great barrier that separates you from everything. But if you can get good at breaking through that barrier, you can have a pretty awesome life, I guess, I would say. But the other factor is, are you willing to work hard, right? Because not only do you need to overcome your fear to get what you desire, you also have to be willing to work for it, right? I've been seeing a lot of motivational videos about, aligning yourself with what you really want. Like, not, I don't know, resisting what, or I don't really know, but there's basically the life that you, and the things that you want to do, and the things that you want to achieve. And then there's the fear that keeps you from getting those. But there's also the work. What if you are able, do you also have to, like, do you need to do the work, or do you just need to overcome the fear? Because I can see overcoming the fear being a big, important thing to do. But then I think about all the work, and I'm like, man, I don't want to do all that. But is it when you align yourself with what you want, the work doesn't feel like work and you just do it? So if that's the case, then I don't know if I've found what I'm aligned with. Man, what about all the times that you wake up and you don't want to fucking do shit? You don't want to work. And they, all these videos I've been seeing, they make it sound like it's, when you're overcoming that fear, when you're doing what you're supposed to be, your soul wants, it just comes easy. But I haven't found that to be the case, unless I haven't really found what I desire to do. Because you can overcome fear, but can you put in the work? You can put in the work, but can you overcome fear? I've also noticed, well, maybe I'm full circling my point here, but what I've noticed is that the things that require you to overcome the most fear seem to also be the things that require less work. Think of a sales job. I'd say that's a scarier position. You're having to talk to these people, make sales. More fear to overcome. Not many people think they can do that. I used to not think I could. Now I think I could. But I haven't yet, so I don't know. But anyway, if you're the guy making the sales, right? You're not the one doing the manual labor, doing the repetitive work. Your job is probably more fun, but there's also more overcoming of fear involved. If you're working in the back, you're not, you see the same coworkers, you do the same job. Say you're in manufacturing and you're operating a machine, right? It's easy as far as there's no fear. You know exactly what you know exactly what you're going to do when you come into work that day. There's no uncertainty, but it's boring and you'll probably want to kill yourself. But there's no fear there. You're not scared. So is that where the sauce is to life? Finding what you fear and overcoming it. Is that what life is truly about? Maybe it's a balance, right? Because if you're constantly in a state of fear, you're always in a position where you're scared, or you're putting yourself in a position where you're like, you have no brakes. You're always, pressure's on. That sounds awful. But then on the other side of the coin, you live a comfortable life where you never have to face your fears. You do probably the same thing just about every day, or things that you've done before that you're familiar with. Then you also want to kill yourself. So I think what a good life is and what a good story is letting the challenges come to you that you know you want to overcome, and then having the balls to overcome them instead of shying away. Don't go out and pick every challenge that you can find. Let the challenges arise, or go out and find something that you want and overcome the fear that's stopping you from getting there. I think if you start seeking out every possible challenge that you can find just to just to constantly be overcoming fear, that becomes your reason for living, is overcoming fear. So then you get stuck doing that over and over and over, and you never actually reach anywhere. You never actually get where you want, because all you want is to overcome the fear, right? Or overcome that challenge. So then that's what gets you stuck in the trap of setting goals, meeting goals, setting new goals, meeting goals forever. and never being satisfied. So you gotta aim for what you want. And you also gotta be happy when you're there. In the in-between times, you gotta enjoy life. You don't want to always be in a constant state of fear, but you also don't want to be ruled by fear. By the way, I'm out here in the middle of the woods somewhere. My truck was had the check engine light flashing towards the last 20 minutes of my drive, but I decided not to turn back. And yeah, I could feel the engine was. This felt like a misfire, which is what I had a couple months ago, and it was a very expensive repair, and I just got it back a couple weeks ago. And seems like the same issue is occurring again, so fuck we gonna do? But maybe this is one of those challenges I was just talking about that found me and that I now gotta overcome. Just sucked because I built this sick ass camper for my truck. And so I don't want to get rid of the truck. But it might not be worth keeping. It's getting up there in miles. So yeah, there's a bit of fear and uncertainty there, but that's just something I have the opportunity to push through, I suppose. I'm really just not sure where to go in my life. I tried to start a business. I'm not sure if it's going to work out. It's a snowboarding product. And we tried to launch last season, but we weren't. I mean, we still don't have the products yet, but the design's pretty much finished. So this next season we'll find out if it's actually going to work out or not, but you know, it's all part of the story, I guess. But that's not obviously paying me any money, so I've started at Olive Garden recently, which has actually been very good for me. I was spending a lot of time with two of the same guys for almost a year, maybe 9 months, and I was starting to feel really autistic. Started to feel like we have this space at my friend's house. It's a gym and an office, and we'd just spend most of every day there. And started to go there, and I started feeling fucking insane. I literally started to like go crazy, and I didn't know what was going on. But I started this job at Olive Garden, has me around a lot of new people all the time. I'm a server. I never thought I would be a server. I was always a very quiet kid, and the thought of going up to strangers and talking to them terrified me. But that's part of why I felt that I needed to do this job. That, and it's a part-time job that pays pretty good. But now I feel like I'm becoming human again through interaction with other people. You can't just be around the same people all the time. It's similar to being alone all the time. Because these people become just an extension of yourself, pretty much. And I think you need to be having new inputs rather than the same things all the time. If you're alone, what new inputs are around you? Maybe your environment, if you can get out and about. But odds are you're going to have a tough time going to new places all the time alone, especially. So then you go to other people. But if you're around the same people all the time, those also become an expansion of your aloneness. Kind of. It's better than being alone, but now you're just a slightly bigger bubble, but you're still in a bubble. Those inputs from those people are not new. But then you expand more, you get a job at Olive Garden, and you have all these new people around you. You're meeting your coworkers, a lot of different people. You're always new people you're interacting with, different combinations of people. And obviously your guests that come in that you interact with. Constantly new inputs, and I've started to realize that I don't feel fucking autistic as much. And it's interesting, like, the more I work there, the more fun it becomes, and the less in my head I am. But then you still have those days that you are in your head and you think, what the fuck happened? I thought I was doing better. But then, maybe your next shift, you feel good again. So it's not entirely, it won't just go away like that, but I think the longer you are in that situation or around more people, the more you'll become yourself. I think that's what I'm feeling. Being around the same two people all the time started to feel like I didn't know who I was again. I don't know if that makes sense. But you got to constantly brush up against different personalities, and that reveals your personality and all the different sides of it. Because you're not going to be the same way with every person you meet. You'll be probably different with every person you meet, because your personality will mesh with theirs differently than it will anyone else's. But the more interactions you have with different people, the more you see your personality take form. And so I can feel myself becoming more comfortable at Olive Garden and around new people. But I'm wondering, will that eventually need to be expanded, or what will I need to do? What will be the next step as far as expanding that bubble? But I think as far as jobs go, Olive Garden has done a good job at that, rather than just working somewhere. For example, like engineering jobs that I've had, or internships, whatever, at like manufacturing places. it's just the same couple people mostly you interact with. So Olive Garden is much better than that. But I don't know. I used to think that people who had jobs that they were always having to interact with new people and new clients and stuff and get to know them, that seemed like the worst job to me, because I didn't like talking to new people. It seemed like something I'd never want to do, but the more I think of it, the more it seems that maybe that is the best job, because you're always interacting with new people. The same reason I thought it was a bad job is the same reason now I'm starting to think it's a good job. Because I also stopped telling myself that I was a shy person and that I didn't like talking to people. I genuinely, for most of my life, thought that I just hated talking to strangers and meeting new people. But what I realized is that I was just scared of being myself with new people. I hated meeting new people because I had to go back into that shell. And so I'd rather just stay around the same people that I'm comfortable with. But what I've come to realize is that you don't have to go into your shell when you meet a new person. Or at least you can come out of it a lot sooner than I used to think you could come out of it. And I'm still getting better at it. I still want to be able to meet a new person and just be able to just feel like myself and joke around and, you know, be the guy that I know I can be and feel comfortable. But I still struggle with that. But at least I stopped telling myself that that's how it has to be and that that's just how I am. And so what I've also found is that when you talk to someone new and you've got a little bit of that anxious nervousness, it actually does fuel you to have more energy to get to know them. Because when I'm around, like my parents, for example, you know, I've grown up with them. I've been around them my whole life. And I don't really know. Sometimes I just don't have much to say to them. But when you're around a new person, they're an unknown to you. And so there's all this stuff you could learn about them. So I want to keep exploring that. Because, you know, my whole life I've been very introverted. Very, like, I don't think I raised my hand a single time in class from high school through college. Not a single time. Because there were all these fearful thoughts. What if the teacher already mentioned that and I wasn't paying attention? What if it's a stupid question and everyone's going to be giggling about it? Everyone's going to be laughing at me for asking it secretly. So I just adopted this mindset of I'll figure it out somewhere else. Some way that I don't have to ask. I don't have to raise my hand. I'll figure it out some way else. So it did make me more resourceful in figuring shit out myself to avoid embarrassment. but it didn't help the story I told myself of I'm a shy person. And I think this is a theory that I've been considering for a while now. I don't think there really is extroverts and introverts. I think introverts say, I like my alone time. And I consider myself an introvert, but I like hanging out with my good friends more than being alone. So then, am I an introvert if I like hanging out with people more than being alone? Now, the lines are being muddied a little bit. So, in that case, I am extroverted around people I'm comfortable with. Why can't I become comfortable with strangers and therefore be extroverted around strangers? And then now I'm considered an extrovert. I bet you if you call yourself an introvert, you have your friends or people, anyone, your family that you're comfortable around, and you feel like an extrovert around. Or maybe not an extrovert, but you just feel comfortable, right? Around other people. You don't have to be super talkative. I don't often have a lot to say. Except for when I'm smoking cigars, I suppose. So, if an introvert is just someone who's not comfortable being themselves around people they don't know, and they could also be an extrovert, then there's the other side of it. An extrovert considers himself an extrovert. They have a hard time being alone. They always need someone around. That is just someone who hasn't become comfortable being alone. Meaning they should probably spend more time with themselves, being okay with being alone. So there you have it. There's my theory. That introverts and extroverts, you're not born that way. That's just what you become comfortable with. And I think anyone can become exhausted with too much social interaction for too long without a break. Introvert or extroverts probably have a higher tolerance for it because they're more used to it and because they don't want to be alone. So that makes them think, well, I should be around people all the time. And so they don't feel like they need a break when they're around people constantly for a long period. Oh, fuck. It's canoeing. But that's my goal. To become comfortable with myself to the point of being comfortable with anyone that I meet. Fuck. Can't. Gotta finish it. My lighter's not working. Here, I got another one. So that's my ultimate goal, to become comfortable with talking to people that I don't know. Get rid of that fear that I've always had. Fuck. I think I am balding. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Oh, well. That's why you gotta rock the middle part. But then my other issue is I have a hard time just coming up with conversation topics. Filling the silence, which I don't think you need to fill all silence, but at work, for example, when, you first get there, we all kind of stand up by the host and wait to seat our first table. And so usually there's a few servers up there. And sometimes I'm better at it than other times. Sometimes I can spark up a conversation and get to know someone, but sometimes I just don't know what to say. But I think that's just another thing that comes with practice. So I guess I got to find more ways to practice that. Even outside of work. But there's just not a lot of situation. I mean, I guess you got to go out and find situations where you can do that. But in situations where I don't have to talk to someone, even though I want to build that skill, it's hard for me to push past that fear and that desire to just be comfortable, not start this conversation with the person near me, and just play it safe, because I don't have to start that conversation. It's easier not to, but then I wouldn't be getting better at it, and I wouldn't be getting to know someone that I didn't know before, and I wouldn't be getting that sweet juice out of life. So, I don't know where I'm going with my life, but I do know that this job at Olive Garden has, I think, been the right move. I just don't know where to go next, because Olive Garden is not going to support a family or get me out of my parents' house. And if I'm not getting out of my parents' house, how the hell am I going to get a girlfriend? there's this girl that I like. Met her at the bar about a month ago, 3 weeks. Texted her that night. Well, I got her number. I somewhat cold approached this girl. Me and my buddy somehow started talking to them in line at the bar. And this girl was very quiet. Her friend was doing most of the talking. But anyway, we took some Jello shots with them, and then we started to leave. For some reason, I think we got scared. But I went back because like this girl was very, very pretty, very cute. Dark hair. I'm done with the blondes. There's blondes everywhere. And I've had my history with blondes, and I'm done with them. Anyway, I went, and before we left, I was like, fuck, I can't leave without getting this girl's phone number. So I went up and I got her number, and I texted her shortly after, and asking her where, like, let me know where you end up or whatever. She didn't respond that night. We saw them again, and they just walked past us. We went, hey, and they went, hey, and kept walking. So I was like, all right, that's nothing. Whatever. The next night, I send her. I was about to just be like, it's not worth it. But then I was like, what do I got to lose from sending one more text? Sent this stupid, funny picture that I had. She basically starts responding immediately. We text out several hours that night. Back and forth, long texts, multiple texts, like multiple different conversations in one text thread, right? Going very well, similar interests. I built my camper. She wants to buy a truck and build it out the same way. I'm like, holy shit, this girl's fucking awesome. And she's like funny, witty. So we text a bit more the next morning. And then around noon, she doesn't respond. And I'm waiting all day. She doesn't respond all day. Next morning, I send her a text. Because the last thing I sent her, there was multiple things. One of them was that I live with my parents. So I was like, oh fuck, shouldn't have said that yet. Another thing was my last name, because I asked hers. She said, maybe I'll give you mine if you give me yours. I gave her mine. No response. So I'm like, oh fuck. That's not good. So I text her the next day. I say, hey, I think it's unfair that you got my last name and I didn't get yours. And a couple hours later, she responds, hey, I'm sorry for going AWOL. I received really devastating news yesterday afternoon, and I've been having a really hard time. So I respond something like, I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. That sucks. Almost 3 weeks pass. My friend's girlfriend says, you should send her another text. Just say, hey, how are you? And I was planning on waiting longer, if texting her at all, to let her initiate reopening that conversation, because she's going through something I don't want to step into early. But I don't know. She gave me that woman's perspective, and so I texted her again. I said, hey, how are you? And that was 2 days ago, and I haven't received a response. And I'm not really surprised. I mean, say you receive devastating news, say one of your parents dies. Are you going to be ready to go back to casual conversation with someone you barely know and act and be lighthearted and be normal? Or are you gonna not respond and maybe wait until you're ready? Because say she does respond and it's something real bad that happened, like, what's she gonna say? Hey, no, I'm not doing great. Now she's reopened the conversation, so then I'm gonna respond. Then she's gonna feel like she's gotta participate in that conversation even though she's still going through it. So I think in her position, it's not surprising that she didn't respond, nor is it necessarily a terrible thing that she didn't respond to me. It doesn't mean necessarily the door is closed, unless the news that was devastating was that I live with my parents. That's possible. That is possible. But in that case, that's kind of fucked up on her part to say that you're having, send that text that you're going through it and making it seem to me like you're going through something real serious. In that case, you can go fuck yourself. I don't think it was that. That's what my heart's telling me. But maybe my heart is deceiving me and telling me what I want to believe is truth. So I think, I don't know, I hope it's not over between us because I think she is really cool. And I would like to help her out with her own build. That'd be fucking awesome. So we'll see. But I did find out, or I do know that she teaches pottery, and I know where, and I know what classes. Did some stalking. And I did, no, never mind. But, do I take her classes, show up, and take her 8-week course for pottery? Or is that a weird thing to do? Or is that romantic? It's hard to say. I think considering that she did show a lot of interest means that perhaps it's not a weird, creepy thing. If she had been very, non-responsive and not interested, and I still did that, that would be pretty weird. But maybe this is a romantic thing. Or maybe it's stupid, but we'll see. It's not for another month or so, longer than that when it starts, so I don't know. But my thought is if she's going through something, she's still having to teach these classes, so what's the harm if I'm there? Anyway. Well, this cigar is about done. I'm going to end this video. It just got over an hour, but some good thoughts, I'd say. If anyone ever watches this, cheers to you, brother or sister. I hope you have a great life.